I'm Lenora Bresler. Welcome to the March 15, 2017 edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details. Today I want to talk to you about something that I absolutely love, a detail of the Bible that is often overlooked, but which brings such a deep, meaningful understanding to the purpose of Christ and what He wants for you and for me. It comes from John chapter 7, verse 38. Christ was in Jerusalem celebrating Sukkot, which was one of the 7 ordained feasts for the Jewish people. It was a commemoration of the time when God dwelt, tabernacled with His people in the wilderness. And it was held at harvest time in the fall. It was a time of great joy. It was a time of fellowship with God as well as with one's fellow man. It was a very joyous time of God's providing sustenance and His very presence for His people. Now, one of the highlights of this festival was known as the water drawing. And Jewish writings said that if you had not experienced this particular ceremony, then you did not know the meaning of joy. For 7 days, the high priests would go from the temple to a particular location, and a bath of shalom, where they would get the water, and they would bring the water back to the temple. But on the highest last day of the feast, they would actually go and get this water and encircle the temple 7 times. And then there would be a very dramatic moment when the high priest would take the water and would pour it, and it would be poured where the people could see it being poured out as an offering. Now, in John chapter 7, verse 38, we are told that at that momentous moment, that high ceremonial moment on this last day, the pouring out of the water, Christ cried out with a loud voice that He was the living water, and that anyone who thirsts should come to Him, and rivers and fountains of living water would come up into the believer. If you can imagine a pin dropping at that moment, that was the most unbelievable, bold statement for Christ to make at such a moment. Now, what was that all about? Well, first of all, you don't have to be a biblical wizard to know the importance in the Old Testament of water. The importance in any desert land of water. Water is sustenance. Water is salvation on a very literal way. If you don't have water, you die. And so living water truly is true. I mean, you have to have water in order to live. All the way back in the Garden of Eden, God has been a provider of water for His people. The garden was watered, you may remember, with 4 rivers. And throughout the Old Testament, God provided water when the Israelites were out wandering in the wilderness and there was no water. What happened? He made water come out of a rock. And throughout all of the Old Testament, water is talked about as coming from God. In Jeremiah, there's the discussion about God provides living water for the people. And so water in a parched and barren land is essential. In Ezekiel, when we get a look at the throne room of heaven, we see that there is water around the throne. In Revelation later, we're going to see that there is water, a river that is flowing out of the temple in heaven. So this idea of water is absolutely essential. Christ is saying, interestingly, all who thirst, come to me, and I will give you this living water. The you have to want it. You have to desire it. As a friend of mine says, God does not reveal himself to the casual observer. God does not provide living water to people who say, hey, I don't want anything to do with God. I'm not thirsty. I don't need any water. But once you come to an understanding that you need what God has, he gives it graciously and just completely generously, overflowing, abundantly. Water represents life. And Christ says in my favorite verse in the whole Bible, John 10:10, for I have come to give life and life more abundantly. This was a beautiful and very bold pronouncement that Christ did at the height of a ceremony that people loved, to say, I know you love this ceremony, I love what you think it means, but let me tell you, I am here. At this ceremony, in this feast that celebrates God living and dwelling among the Israelites, I am here in even a more tangible form. Someone you can see, someone you can interact with, someone who can teach you and who can be a role model for you on a daily basis. Here I am in the flesh, literally, God in the flesh, and I am here to give you that water that is your salvation. It's such a beautiful, beautiful picture. And so I hope today you have the living water springing up like fountains in you. I hope you drink from that, and I hope that you have the joy of your salvation, for you have living water in you. I'm Lenora Bresler. Visit me tomorrow on the next edition of The Bible, Delight in the Details. Have a wonderful day.